And now is the time to get those elims on the board and get those victory royales. We can see here, round number 10 underway. Let's get into this one.
All right, so Speedy. We will have Jam Side and SSK 7 with a little bit of contention themselves, but they seem relatively safe for now. All right, so not gonna see if any action breaks down again. The further we get through the day here, Speedy, I feel like teams are gonna start changing up their style drastically. 5 games left to go, including this one. The shield, mini shield trying to be dropped there. The small shield's not actually going to land on the ground. A little bit unfortunate for them. We see Aiden and Nick Mercs as well, towards tilted up against Gamers Origin, Jules, and Miz.
We actually saw Nick Mercs here not contested, but moving on over to Scram, ends up going down. And
well, we did move to Scram. Yeah, we did move to Scram. For the second he was alive, though, I know Sakona's going to be pushing up, trying to do something about this as well. But you can pretty much predict how it's going to go in a 1v2, though I said the same thing about Aiden, who was almost able to pull that off.
So now up to FaZe, Nate to clutch this up. Actually, Funbomb and Nate both just kind of have to slow play this and find Sakona, trying to get any little angle there. It's no need to rush this. It's a 2v1.
Yeah, exactly. Get this solid limb. Don't lose out too much HP. So you can transition a little bit further on. They're actually low on builds here. See Funkbomb is going to be completely out, but it doesn't matter. He's going to be dropped. Again, a little bit of dancing going on here for Nate. The disrespect as they get to the frag. And now Miz and Jules trying to still battle against Aiden and Nick Mercs. You see though, Miz looking to come in from the high ground, actually going to be under the staircase. Going to have to be very careful here as we now hear the trap even coming in. But that will be Jules cleaning up Nick Mercs, looking for Aiden now as they do actually have him coming in from behind. And Gamers Origin will win out the fight towards Tilted. Here for FOD history. It's a close aim here, 203 meters. And looking to spam down on Vinny, put it all on Zexro's shoulders. Can they hit the shots? Can Zexro get here in time to help him out? And Vinny will have to go back to lobby, and Zexro going to be by himself now in this round.
Hero living up to the name, 203 meter.
I can still hear every time I see his name, yet. And we have the launch pad being used as 8 safe, going to rotate back into the zone.
So this is what I was talking about. When you're this far away from the zone, you need to put down those launch pads in order to get in. You have a really far rotation, especially with so many people around you.
Yeah, and well, they were able to get some distance, but they still haven't closed the distance completely, though, Speedy, so they haven't been able to actually get into the sweet spot just yet. And the zone we do have is something we've seen a couple times today. It's actually halfway over the water again, so it really eliminates a lot of the area that you can use, a lot of that real estate to your advantage to build it, to get safe in. So I'm imagining we're going to see a lot of people in Paradise Palms start to transition over towards this eastern side.
Well, this is actually a very interesting zone because the zone cannot move over the water, really. Right, the half circle will not reveal itself over the water, so you kind of have a 50% chance of getting in the half circle now if you're on land.
Tomo going to be cleaned up here as well as Item, so another duo that we've seen in the top 10 start to struggle. Even though they've not actually got any victory royales, they've been consistently doing well and sneaking under the radar for most people. But they are going to be out of the fight here, and a lot of the top teams are starting to really struggle over the course of today.
Liquid Chat still alive. Milan and Smeef. Sino and Envy positioning themselves center circle there on the high ground. Kupek still in it.
Alpha, yeah, I did lose Bowman earlier on. You can see Bizzle and Demo waiting to actually make the transition across once the circle does reveal itself. And it's actually, for the majority of the part, going to be over land, but it still will be towards that eastern side. So the question now comes, if you're the one building from west to east, you have your own buildings to go back off across. So high ground to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Speedy, is going to be even more important once we get those circles moving away from that water towards the western half.
Absolutely. There is a massive mountain on the southern edge that you always want to be prepared to go over. I believe in game 1 we saw most of the lobby go down to one of those mountain zones.
Right. Well, Kripa's going to take down Dementos. And Boyer and Kripa have had some fantastic games. Villix and Kinzel still going to be alive as they were the victors of the last game of yesterday in round 7. Saipan and BloodX looking to maintain some high ground control from that mountain you were talking about. And they do have a good position here. But they have Tux and Provoked to worry about next to them. But they have a lot of potential to get some free damage off.
So this is the best position you want to be in, just laying down that AR fire from on top of the mountain. No one's going to contest you. No one's even going to look up. They're just hoping you don't look in their direction.
Not sure what happened with Beehive and Coffee, but they've actually split up. You can see on the right-hand side of your screen, Beehive on the lower part, and Coffee's actually on the upper side of that. Not sure how they got split in those kind of situations, but that's going to definitely come back to haunt them, because you would imagine one of them is going to be pushed eventually when this circle starts to move.
That tends to happen. What they eventually want to do is reunite, push towards each other, but they're probably sitting here waiting for the next circle, waiting to see, do I move over to you or do you come to me?
14 builds left for Saf. Zate's able to get elimination onto Nowhere, and Saf cleans it up. So that's going to be a nice little actual income for them, going up for about 14 to 64 mats to build. And they're definitely going to need it because the Storm is going to start to move. And it's going to start to really cause a lot of damage here. Demo has been dropped here by Kuna. So Mitra and Kuna able to get elimination on their side.
You can just see there in the elimination feed just going off. Lots of players going down here. We just moved from 61 to 55 players in a quick second. Animal is still in there. I believe his teammate Aspect went down though.
Jamside was knocked down. You can see SSK7 trying to fight for himself. They do have 2 eliminations between the two, and SSK7 is not going to be able to res his teammate. We did hear a couple of clingers being thrown, and you can still see the stink bombs as well. And look at the position Envy has. He's chucking those as far as he possibly can to get some free damage in. You can see Animal now being forced back to the Storm. He's eventually got to run through this or edit his way out. To the left-hand side, Vilix and Kinzel pretty much being unharmed.
This is a great strategy that people typically use, just using those stinks to get as much damage in as possible, making sure that your opponents are, softening them up as you're starting to get into those later circles. You definitely want to make sure that your opponents are all one-shot if you can, so that you can just clean them up with a nice pump.
So if I'm not mistaken, Zextro has been eliminated at some point here. So Zate and Saf, I think ranked number 2 right now, are looking at this as a juicy game. If they can clean up some eliminations, get a very high place, and they will overthrow their brothers from the US, and this would be a fantastic and breakthrough game for them. Now the zone has moved towards the southeast side. The hill position we talked about before are going to be very important, especially with the zone moving that direction. You see Izza and Camo, controller gang over here, who have really put some fear into a lot of players' eyes with how they've been able to put out some extremely high elimination numbers. Looking to still fight here to break through into that top 25.
Absolutely, 13 eliminations in game 1. And they have center circle here. They're just kind of positioned and gatekeeping, making sure that they can position themselves as good as possible for that end game.
You see Boyer really realizing there's a lot of risk to go being used. He's trying to maintain the high ground control, trying to build up a little bit further. Issa and Camo now 3 eliminations. He has a spot into Boyer, and he gets the connection on top of that. So it's a lot of damage to be done, but he's being shot from above, and now he's down to 32 HP, trying to escape this one, trying to edit his way through. He's got some small shields to pop if he does need it, or if he has time, I guess, more importantly, to pick it up. You can see Skix very low HP, and Crippa with 3 limbs. He does have the backup of his teammates. He has the rocket launcher as well. Actually, they both have one, and that's a lot of damage being done, trying to shoot down a couple of players, but they're not lucky this time.
Blood and Zippin just holding the high ground there. Kinzo actually ends up getting a care package.
Oh, the trap! The trap they put down there, waiting for enemies to drop on top, and works out. Crippa is going to help get the elimination onto that one. Scimitars has fallen, unfortunately, and what a play. What a read into this one. Using the rocket launcher to drop people down, and another
nice
through. That's now 5 for them as they're looking to clean this game up. Look at that. Little trap set up perfectly where Boer's more than happy to sit.
That was absolutely beautiful. They had the high ground, they knocked them down, they put down the trap, and they cleaned them both up.
These rocket launchers, look at what they have in their inventory. Even a chug on
2
top
launch
of things.
pads, an RPG, 2 RPGs, each one of them with their own.
This could be the game that they're able to pull off. This could be the first time we've seen.
This is Crippa and Boyer's game if they can pull it off.
And yeah, they've not been able to get a victory out so far, but this might be theirs. This might be theirs for the taking. Saf going to take down Little J. Mitro going to take down Hubik. Magan just trying to fight his way back through as we have the Storm now moving towards the northern side. You can see Max Caliber off to the completely south side, just kind of being tagged up here. There you go, Jesse's still in there. Jordan, I don't think he's alive anymore as he's just trying to transition. Actually, Jordan is there, so they do have the duos from Australia still fighting. Smeeth going to be on ultimate high ground at the moment, but he's going to have to transition very far. Zate has been dropped down at the moment. Saf is trying to fight his way through, and he has 2 players to potentially pick up here, looking for the eliminations. Jordan's going to be pressured, and Jordan's going to be falling, and that's going to be Jesse as well. The Australians have been knocked out. Jules cleaning up 2 quick eliminations.
Boyer here fighting for the high ground, getting his RPG, ready to knock it down.
It's so difficult to play from the higher positions. It's so difficult to deal with the explosives coming through. And what a shot out of Seth, able to return on. I'm not sure if he actually got dropped in the end anyways from the Storm. You can see Seth now as well. You can see towards the left-hand side, Madsen able to get even further. Camo still alive and fighting, takes down Jules. Sap still alive, gets the elimination onto Vilix. And these rocket launchers are going to be so important here. As the zone starts to close, it moves yet again here, this time towards the western side of Paradise Palms. And Milan and Smith, who won last game, are still here fighting.
Milan actually gets knocked down off of high ground by Kripa. Kripa ends up taking the high ground. It's now Kripa and Boyer on the high ground.
He's trying to block him. Oh!
And he gets dropped down!
The stairs comes in, but Milan got the redeploy to stay alive here, so that a fantastic play out of Boyer. It was great to see. It doesn't work on the end for him, but nonetheless, really showing his expertise here, especially in these later stages. 10 players left to go here, Speedy.
They were able to secure the high ground off of that, just not get the elimination. I mean, it's the best case scenario.
I mean, they still win, right? They still win because they still maintain high ground.
Have dominance here from the high ground, raining rockets in.
And the Rockets are doing some serious work. It's disrupting fights, and the elimination comes through. That's now going to be 8 for them. Boyer and Kripa able to get up to 9, I think, potentially, and maybe a 10th as well. They are cleaning house here, Boyer and Kripa.
Mitro and Tux with the launch pad. Mitro, can he take the high ground?
Oh, he's trying to, and it looks like he has been able to. He's got a player above him. It's going to be Seth, though, and Madsen's going to be here to join his teammate to take this high ground away. But for how long? Because the RPGs are still in play. They get knocked down another time. You can see Seth and Madsen now up to 3 eliminations. But Boyer and Kripa, the game's been all about them. 9 elims between the two. But look at this. Now they get a 10th as well mixed into this. Tux is going to fall, unfortunately, to the storm, and these RPGs are going to be even more important here.
Boyer has 0 mats. He has to rely on that RPG. He needs to knock down these builds.
Mitro still alive from the very, very low ground, and Kripa and Boyer, who've been at the high ground for such a long time, going to be knocked down, and they might actually get a knock yet again. Here's Seth, going to be able to save himself with his own catch of the building, but with 5 players left to go, you can see the chaos here from all these players. Mitro going to take down Boyer, so that's going to actually be a little bit of a pain here for Kripa, as now Mitro looking to push in. He's looking for some limbs, has 4 total across the team. A little bit now of a slower pace.
On the low ground, Kripa and Mitro.
He's got one thing to build with. He's trying to knock Kripa down, and Kripa's saying, no, not today. You can see towards the back, Boyer trying to claw his way back in. That's the 5th elimination, able to help heal Mitro up a little bit further, up to 153 HP. Madsen and Seth, though, in the meantime, still have the high ground. The only 2 duos remaining, or duos that have both players up alive and running. Kripa's going to fall to low ground, trying to take down Mitro. Mitro will fall. Kripa, though, still inside the storm, taking a lot of damage.
Ground battle. Now, it's a 2v1.
Yeah, 2v1. You shouldn't be losing this if you're LDLC. If somehow Kripa can pull this back, I'd be amazed. But he does get shot from the high side. And LDLC, Seth the Madsen will take the victory royale. Look at Airwak Sneakov. Like, to me, that's like the big story. Yes, Vinny and Zextra, they've had a rough 2 games, but these 2 players kind of came out of nowhere. Not really in contention. I remember they started off yesterday, and they had like 5 points after like 2 games, and yet they've been able to make themselves into the top 4 position now. That's fantastic.
Demo and Bizzle actually creeping on up on the leaderboard. So we've mentioned before they weren't performing, you know, in terms of top 5s,
right,
but they're still consistent, and that's being rewarded.
And Camo and Issa as well, we talked about them. They're really performing well today. You see they shot up the leaderboards as well. Provoked and Tux kind of slipping down a little bit, but I mean, you can still see how tight every single points gap is between all these teams and their surrounding duos that are around them. So we talked about how things have been changing up and how they're going to continue to change up. Those gaps keep closing. However, one thing I do want to point out is the fact that